What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the With Great Power podcast, and also another episode of the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. I'm your host, Nate the Great. I'm here today with Jeff S., Jeff B. Bowman, and Gunner. We'll start off with Jeff Bowman. How have things been going on for you?
Awesome, buddy. Awesome. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Also, you can go ahead and plug away.
Oh, go ahead and plug myself.
Yeah.
I'm just a frequent visitor, man, outside of the Bleeding Edge and your show. This is it, man. Whoever needs me, I'm available.
And he's fucking the bomb in the comment section.
All right, Gunner. Why don't you go ahead and plug your stuff in, and how are things been going on?
Man, things are great. Having a great week. Couple new WandaVision TV spots dropped. Moon Knight is kicking butt. It's a good time to be a fan of Marvel, man. I'm great. All my stuff is at wideopenmic.net. I got to do a couple podcasts. Snap an MCU podcast. Lost rewatch podcast called We Have to Go Back, where we're finishing second season of Lost. The first part of the finale was dropped this past Wednesday. Second half this coming up Wednesday. So things I'm working on right now.
And last but not least, go ahead and Jeff S., why don't you go ahead and plug away your stuff?
I'm not into plugging too much and whatnot,
I'm just saying that this is a crossover episode.
Oh yeah, of course, sure. Of course. Like, I'll talk about the schedule with the shows and whatnot and everything. I just always feel kind of weird doing the plugging and whatnot and stuff. But no, of course, I'm the co-host of the MCU's Bleeding Edge, and shout out to Cybernetic Shark, who's unfortunately at work right now getting after it. I hope he's doing all right. And essentially, we go off at 9:20 p.m. Eastern and 6:20 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday evening on our main show. And then on Fridays and Sundays now, when I can actually get myself out of bed to, host the show or do them, they happen. Besides that, shout out to the MCU and Marvel and DCEU fandom, Star Wars fandom. And shout out to all of our subscribers and whatnot and everything. And overall, hey, I just get to hang out and chill with some really good people all the time and whatnot on the Bleeding Edge. So it's all good.
And last, I'll go ahead and plug in the stuff that I have. I am the host of the With Great Power podcast, of the other show that's going on live right now. And I am also a analyst, production advisor for the All Sports All Plays Network. And third time today, I can't remember the name to my YouTube channel, and I've done 3 shows today. That's not looking good for me. My shows, my content's so good, I don't even need a title.
That's it, baby. I love it.
By the way, that is my title.
I love it. I love it. He had me fucked up. He had me stumped earlier with that.
All right. Now to go in and talk about some news that just dropped. We were talking about this a little bit before Jeff hopped on, and actually a little bit after, before we started the live show. But there is a new Doctor Strange 2 trailer that just released yesterday. It's about close to a minute long. Jeff, do you have that?
Yes.
All right. Do you go ahead and play that real quick?
Most definitely.
I've been dreaming every night. The same dream.
Every morning, the same nightmare.
Strange. The fate
of the multiverse depends on us. Careful, Stephen. This path exacts a heavy toll. Okay. Marvel Studios, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Only in theaters May 6th. Tickets on sale now.
1 month away. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about it, and I noticed that the kids in that trailer, I kind of think that's more of a flashback, or it's yeah, I think it's more of a flashback on that trailer, to be honest with you. I'll give it to Gunner first. You know, what do you think about the kids showing up? Do you think that's actually going to be part of the show, or do you think
Yeah, I think it's kind of in her mind. I think that's what she is trying to accomplish, to bring her kids back from wherever they are. I love that as someone that loved WandaVision, that is the Wanda trailer. I mean, it had the music feel of WandaVision trailers. It's very Wanda heavy. I loved it. My only disappointment was the first time I saw it, I thought that was Chthon that she was fighting. But then if you look, there's someone, or Wong was fighting. But if you look, there's another one of those creatures behind Wanda. So I don't think it's Chthon. I think it's just another creature. But yeah, no, I think it's just kind of in her mind. I don't think they're real. I think she's trying to figure out how to bring them back.
especially since the post-credit scene in WandaVision, her reading that book, I think that's really more about bringing the kids back. I'll give it to Jeff Bowman next. You know, what are your takes on that trailer?
That's the first time I've seen it. I thought it was very eerie, man. She's repeating the same thing that Strange is repeating at the previous trailer. You know how he's telling you about his dreams, his nightmares. She's basically repeating the same thing.
They did a great job of melding those two voices together.
Yeah, and right off the bat, it makes me think that by the way she's talking, it almost makes me say she's a variant.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean,
it's definitely going to be odd because what she's saying about the kids. I've heard a bunch of different rumors. I mean, I don't know what's true and what's not true. I've heard that her kids are going to have a scene in the movie, and I don't know. Who knows? I've got so many different theories about it, it's crazy.
If what she's saying is true, there's one possibility that if she is a variant, and that's the variant that was speaking in the trailer, there could be the possibility that she in her universe, she could have lost her kids in a different way.
Nate, if you don't mind, it's only a minute long. Let me play that one more time real quick, man, because a lot of the shit goes on in there, and I can't.
Yeah, that's true.
I've been dreaming every night. The same dream.
And every morning, the same nightmare.
Strange. The fate of the multiverse depends on us. Careful, Stephen. This path exacts a heavy toll. Okay. Marvel Studios, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Only in theaters May 6th. Tickets on sale now.
Yo, that shit has got me, all up on my computer, I'm about to, bump my head into it. A lot to see there, a lot going on and whatnot and everything. Did anybody else notice that that one version of Wanda as Scarlet Witch is using her Sokovia accent again?
Yes, I did notice that.
That was gone before. Like she had like lost that or whatever.
It comes and goes, but yeah, no, I mean it's I think it's purposeful because it came back in WandaVision a couple times.
Okay, yeah, like maybe it's like an emotional thing or whatever, where like, when she's like emotionally impacted or something or whatever, or
When Monica Rambeau brought up her brother, she went back into that accent again
Mm-hmm.
in episode 3. I don't know how I remember what episode it was, but
I have to believe, I could be wrong. You guys can tell me what you think. Coming off of WandaVision, even though she got the Darkhold and everything and whatnot, and she's learning it and everything and reading it and playing with it and all that, still nobody's actually really sat there and tried to teach her or help her how to be a witch. You know what I mean? Or like how to really do that shit. So at that point,
I think Agatha tried. She just didn't do it.
But it didn't happen. You know what I mean? So like at that point, the Darkhold doesn't teach you how to, the stuff that like Agatha could like help her with or whatever. So I guess my point is just that, don't you think it's conceivable that maybe she might be so powerful at this point that she can't even control herself, like, and her powers?
yeah. And I kind of thought the same way when episode 1 first came. Actually, episode 3, when whatever episode they kind of brought up where she was and all that kind of stuff.
Or that it's obvious that her emotions are connected to her powers.
Yes. And I kind of think that she doesn't really have control over it. I read somewhere where there's been a couple of superheroes. I think one of them was Ant-Man in the comics that ended up getting killed off because Wanda didn't have control over her powers.
Well, I've got a question for all you guys. I guess like Jeff, if you want to go first, how big of a, like, really when it boils down to it, like, I guess if you had to describe how big of a role do you honestly think that Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch is actually going to play in this film? Like overall, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like how big of a character in the movie is she going to end up being?
I think she's gonna have a huge. I know you have Jeff, but I think she's gonna be the
Oh,
second.
was you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, hell, I didn't know who you were talking to. I mean, she's going to be a major role in this film. No question about that.
Yeah, I agree.
I
she's
got
gonna have
to
the
feel like
second
the way
biggest.
Gunner felt a long, long time ago. I think we're at the beginnings of House of M. I think she's confronting her variant like we've talked about before. I mean, she's searching for her kids. She's been reading the Darkhold. When she finished out at the end of WandaVision, we saw her in the astral projection, and she's reading, and then she's out front having a cup of coffee. So, I mean, she's definitely further along than we realize. And
that kind of ties into just to connect off that and kind of elevate things beyond that scope just a little bit. That kind of ties into what we were talking about on the Bleeding Edge the other night about how Cyber and I both believe it's almost a guarantee that they're going to end up doing actual films with Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlet Witch, in the MCU down the road, because after Doctor Strange 2, what happens to her? Like, where does she go? If they're gonna do House of M or something like that, they have to have a vehicle to do it.
Yeah, I think her next appearance after Doctor Strange 2 will be the first X-Men film, which will be House of M. That's when they're going to introduce the X-Men in that. Or they're going to reveal the mutants at the end of that movie.
Wait a minute. So you think that that's going to be her next appearance?
Yes. Well, I don't know her next, but that'll be her biggest appearance. I like she might show up in House of Harkness. I doubt it, but I think where her story ends up is with the mutants coming back in the MCU. And I think she'll be the main star of whatever House of M, the X-Men franchise, whoever's going to be Professor X, whoever's going to be Magneto, Wolverine, Gambit, whatever X-Men they're bringing in. I think she will be the main star of that.
Does that mean that you think, Gunnar, that she, as a character, does not care about the fact that she was an Avenger?
I didn't say that. I just think that I think her astral projection or her variant, whatever that darker Scarlet Witch character is, we know she's a Nexus being, and Nexus beings have special powers in the comics. And so I think somehow she eliminated mutants, no more mutants. And I think we are living right now, the MCU is in the middle of House of M. So I think that it's going to lead. I think if not the post-credit scene, I think just a one-off scene is where Professor X comes in and says we have to tell her the truth. And I think the truth is all the mutants are out there. We've seen a couple of them. We saw Ursa Major in Black Widow. So we know that there's mutants out there. And I think the mutants she somehow made them forget that they're mutants. And I think Professor X is going to be the first to kind of wake up from this trance because he's so powerful. And then that's what this first X-Men movie is going to be, or House of M, whatever you want to call it. It's just going to be the mutants kind of coming back.
Okay. So, Nate, kind of, jumping off that, again, with, like, the significance of her role in Doctor Strange 2, and then where she goes from there, like, as the Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen, if you have any thoughts in that, like, direction, where do you see her popping up, or where do you see her being placed in the MCU after Doctor Strange 2?
I had to pull up the list of all the shows coming up to see if there'd be another possibility besides the ones that were just mentioned. But I can't think of another one. I kind of agree that the House of M is probably my next biggest one. But yeah, and I can't think of anything else.
Well,
Doubt.
I think that when it boils down to it, like in the fandom in general, and like here in this room or in this space or whatever, with the four of us like chilling here and whatnot, at the end of the day, I may get like, I don't know, animated or whatever and whatnot when it comes to talking about these debates about what are they going to do next, House of M, or if they're going to do like Secret Wars or something like that or whatever, you know what I mean, and whatnot. And I kind of poke fun and whatnot with things with Gunnar and everything, about some of the stuff that he speculates on with the Skrulls and all that shit. But at the end of the day, though, I do respect that shit. And, like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball. And I've been wrong many, many times when it comes to my predictions with the MCU. I can tell you that right now. So, like, honestly, when it boils down to it, I know, like, how I think things are going to go down, kind of. But, hey, you never know. Like, House of M is a tangible possibility. I can't think of any reason why they wouldn't do it.
I mean, at least why Elizabeth Olsen is still willing to play the character.
Well, she's 30. So
They got a lot of stuff that they're going to have to explain. They got to explain where the kids came from, how they got there. There's a lot of stuff they've got to explain.
that's right. And at that point, that means that you've got to do something. Like, you've got to have some kind of production, a show. You've got to have movies. You've got to have some way to play that out to the audience and whatnot and everything. It can't just be behind the scenes. And
That may all come out in this movie.
it's possible.
I know for one thing, I doubt we are going to see a WandaVision second season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I think that's dead. That's never going to happen.
I just don't think that that's what those series are. I just don't think, though, I mean, we are getting a second season of Loki. I just kind of think they decided to split Loki up because of some of the delays. And then plus, there's more story to tell, and we know that Kang's going to have a pretty big part in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I think that was a purposeful thing. And then What If is an anthology story, so each story is pretty much, for the most part, it's an isolated story. So I think
Kang's going to be throughout all of this MCU coming up.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think there's going to be variants in everything pertaining to the MCU.
So I have a little theory, possibility. I don't know how they would use her in this, but could you see Kate Bishop appearing in the next Ant-Man?
Sure, maybe. I'd like to see a West Coast Avengers.
If they bring up Kane, yeah, I can see that.
I can see her making a cameo meeting Stature.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Something like that. Just a brief, 5-minute cup of coffee. Something like that to pique everybody's interest.
I think that bounced off of kind of what Gunnar was saying when it comes to the Disney Plus series. I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is such a fluid concept that it's almost kind of difficult to even have these Disney Plus series carry over from season to season. Because at the end of the day, you've got the films and that aspect, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to where, with all these moving parts and everything and whatnot, and the evolution of the storylines and stuff and new characters and everything, it almost probably has to be like a specific kind of series or character in a series to be able to do a second season or a third season. It's interesting kind of to wonder, like, what with Loki made them decide to go ahead and greenlight 2 more seasons of the show? Straight up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point of the Disney Plus series is just a better way to introduce these characters. I mean, if you think about it, outside of WandaVision and maybe Loki to some extent, the majority of these stories are origin stories. It's the origin of Sam Wilson's Captain America. It's the origin of Kate Bishop. It's the origin of Moon Knight. I mean, and we're going to see the origin of Kamala Khan, and we're going to see the origin of all these characters coming up. And I mean, Secret Invasion is going to be awesome. I think we're going to get Hulkling's origin in that. So I think that's the purpose of those series. It's so we don't have to waste a movie on, setting up a character like the last Fantastic Four movie.
Well, Gunnar, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that, what if Marvel hadn't been bought by Disney? Do you think Marvel Studios would have created their own, platform or something or whatever and done shows on their own?
I doubt it. DC tried it and it didn't work. I think they would have had an agreement with Netflix. Like, they would have expanded their agreement with them.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, they have tried it before.
Yeah. But the concept and what the Disney Plus series are and what they're about is different than what they did with Netflix.
True, absolutely. And I think that came with the purchase of getting purchased by Disney. I mean, man, Disney Plus is a no-brainer. Anyway, I mean, everything I love is owned by Disney now. So, I mean, I think it's the perfect platform for this. It kind of worked out perfectly. I don't know what they would have done. Also, what if, you could think of it like that. What if Captain America bombed? If that movie bombed, or what if Iron Man bombed? I mean, we might not have had the MCU as we know it. I mean, we got lucky that they hit 19-20 straight movies that were, the Thor movies weren't great, but the majority of these Marvel titles in the first, 10 years were not just good, but amazing. And
once it got going, Gunnar, and got to a certain point, there was no way to stop it.
I think the moment that it took off, at least maybe this is just for me, Winter Soldier was so good, and then that bled into Guardians of the Galaxy, which then bled into Age of Ultron, which then bled into Ant-Man and Wasp, or Ant-Man, and it's just like they had so many strings of just amazing people, and I didn't care for Age of Ultron at first. Now I love it. But
But
back
what about
then, I was
but
disappointed.
what about the critical success of Captain America: The Winter Soldier? I can't even remember. How did it do, like box office wise and
I
everything
mean, I
like
don't
that?
think
and
it
whatnot?
was as great. It wasn't as well received as a lot of them. I think critically, I thought it was well received, but it wasn't like a $1 billion movie like some of the later Marvel stuff.
That's interesting. It really makes me think. I was just thinking to myself, like, how interesting it would be to go look at like what the reviews are of Captain America: The Winter Soldier back then when it first came out.
And I think it was well received, well reviewed. It just wasn't. I didn't even see it till like the end of the run. I mean, I saw the trailer. I'm like, oh, that looks cool, but I really wasn't into them. In fact, I will say that is the movie that got me into Marvel. It was the first Marvel movie that I actually loved.
Well, if you look at all the lists out there for the most part that you see online and whatnot, where people try to rank the Marvel movies and stuff like that and whatnot, everybody out there pretty much has Captain America: The Winter Soldier in the top 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the very first one that I loved, and just because I thought it brought the sense of humor, was the first Avengers movie.
Wow, Nate, I'm surprised. For a minute there, I thought you were going to say that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was better than Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Maybe to you.
That's an inside joke, guys. Sorry.
Because that's because I said that.
Because Nate said that Spider-Man 3 was better than Avengers Endgame.
Spider-Man 3 hit all the right spots, but I love Endgame.
When you think about it, Wanda is the only series to cross over from Disney Plus to the Marvel movies so far.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah.
And she's actually done it twice because she went from the movies to the Disney Plus, from Disney Plus, and now back to the movies.
Well, Jeff, you tell me. Does that connection at that point seem like evidence that at that point, like the act, without question, step would that be for her to have her own film?
I mean, they're talking about her doing her own film. They've already mentioned that she's going to have her own movie. They've said she's the backbone of the Avengers now, from what a lot of people were saying.
I mean, let's be honest. There's not.
She's
many
the strongest
Avengers
Avenger up to this point.
She's the top female MCU character out there. She's top dog.
Mm-hmm.
But she's the only one to do this crossover from Disney Plus to the movies. So maybe they're seeing how that's going to work. Because the next one's going to be the Marvels. That's a movie coming up, right? And so Kamala Khan's going to be in that. So she's going to cross over from Disney Plus to the movies too, somehow.
I actually heard that they might put Justin Smollett in the Marvels.
I don't know anything about what's going on in that.
And keep in mind, Miss Marvel's coming out on Disney Plus on June 8th.
My friend's Jesse Smollett's lawyer, so I will stay in comment.
Oh, oh man!
But he was in Mighty Ducks. The first Mighty Ducks.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
I didn't even know that. We watched it right before the new Mighty Ducks series came on. I'm like, Jesse Smollett, really? They didn't bring him back for the second movie.
All I can tell you right now, as far as like about Scarlet Witch goes, is that Elizabeth Olsen is really talented as an actress. Like, she's really talented, and I think that the sky's the limit with her as a Scarlet Witch, man. Like, where they could possibly go with her, how big the films could be if they made films with her and whatnot, how well they'd do. I mean, where they could go. That with her character, there's so many directions they could go with her. So many different stories like that they could put her into. So many other characters they could bring into the films and connect with her and whatnot and everything. It makes you wonder though, like, what happens with White Vision? Like, what happens with that relationship or whatever? Like, are they going to stick to the comics and try to reunite them together, or like, how does it work?
I mean, there's a lot they can do based on comics. I mean, you could not bring them together and have the Visions, have the Vision get a new family. Like you can do that.
Yeah.
You can put them together and put them both in the West Coast Avengers. That's what I want. I want James Gunn to do the West Coast Avengers. It'd be great.
Yep. Yeah, I would love to see a West Coast Avengers. I don't know how it would work, but like maybe as a Disney Plus series, that would be cool.
Do it as a movie. Let James go all out. Let James Gunn bring in Wonder Man, bring in Tigra. You can pull the most obscure Marvel characters because no one can make an obscure character amazing like James Gunn.
See, I have a feeling though.
Starro and
Gunner, but Gunner, you tell me if you get where I'm coming from. I could be wrong, and any one of you guys can tell me if you have a different opinion. I wonder if James Gunn is even the kind of director where he'd even want to like tackle an Avengers film.
Yeah, but it's a West Coast Avengers. I think that would draw. I think that is the challenge James Gunn would love, because you're not talking about the big guns. You're not talking about Iron Man, Captain America. You're talking about a team of Ant-Man and, like I said, Hawkeye and Tigra and Wonder Man and Vision and Scarlet Witch and U.S. Agent and all these obscure characters. And we said on Snap, our Marvel podcast, it's a shame. I mean, Wyatt Russell was great as U.S. Agent in Falcon Winter Soldier, but John Cena would have been the perfect U.S. Agent, especially after watching Peacemaker. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the kind of vehicle. Let James Gunn go crazy. Do MODOK. Make him the villain of it. I mean, James Gunn would make that cool. That might be the best Marvel movie of all time in my eyes.
James Gunn made Suicide Squad and Polka Dot Man cool.
Polka Dot Man was the coolest part of that movie.
And Shark. I mean, who the hell is King Shark? Who would have thought? I mean, James Gunn's an awesome director, dude.
I think he also, I could be wrong. That's why I'm looking it up. But I think he also directed Legends of Tomorrow Season 1.
Interesting. I didn't know that. But
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say it would be interesting. I hope he does something like that.
The Suicide Squad film was great, man. I thought it was awesome. The one that second Suicide Squad film, I thought it was really, really well done. Great film.
It was James Gunn off the bat. I mean, it was just like Guardians of the Galaxy.
I thought it was the best thing that's happened in the DC and other than Snyder Cut.
Oh yeah, by far the best thing they've done. And I'm not a DCEU hater. I think they've failed a lot, but I'm not a hater of them. I'm actually really looking forward to Flashpoint.
Yeah, actually, it was James Gunn, because he directed Legends of Tomorrow right after he got fired, and then came back.
Oh, okay.
He came back into doing Marvel, so he directed Legends of Tomorrow around that time.
Well, that's cool.
All right, let's get on and move on to the next topic, which was there is no season, but episode 2 of Moon Knight. Overall, I thought it was a really good episode. I'll give it to Jeff first. What are your thoughts on
which one? Which shift?
Oh yeah, Bowen.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, one thing's for certain. After watching the first episode and going into the second episode, I said it last night, I'll say it again. QR codes are now official. You better be scanning these codes when you see them in these shows, because every single one of these are going to have something to do with what's going on. And they've made that now official. So I thought that was the coolest thing about both of these up to this point, as far as like Easter eggs go, because I found a lot. But after the first episode and scanning the QR, it didn't even dawn on me to scan the code by the Pharaoh's tomb in the first episode. And then automatically when the second episode come out, and he's going through to the storage building, I saw the QR code and I jumped up off the couch, paused it, scanned it, and it downloaded a comic book. So that's fun. You know what I mean? That's making it interactive for the fan, and that's cool. But I enjoyed this second episode, and I mean, they did an awesome job. It's the effects on this, the camera work, all of it is just awesome in this episode.
Yeah, most definitely. I would second that. Yep.
Jeff S., what are your thoughts on it?
I think it's really important and really valuable to actually take the time to talk about the production, of these series and whatnot. I feel like sometimes we get so engrossed in the characters, right? Or the actors or the actresses or whatever and whatnot, or the story or the villain, or the lore, with WandaVision, where there was that buzz constantly where everybody was like, oh my God, Mephisto's coming, Magneto's coming, whatever. You know what I mean? That shit was electric. You know what I mean? You could not talk about it. I feel like, I'm not trying to say it's a problem or anything or it's negative, but I feel like sometimes it causes a dynamic where you kind of forget about the production, the cinematography, how well done certain aspects of the actual process of making these shows and movies are not well done. You know what I mean? The opposite, whatever. How well shot something is. And I feel like it's good. I think it's coming off of what Jeff B said. I feel like it's important and fun to kind of go in that world too. And I'm not even trying to get into comparisons or whatever and whatnot. I'm not an expert with film and whatnot. Cybers does that, all that stuff, not me. But I feel like it's important when you notice differences from series to series or movie to movie, when you see really good storytelling, you know what I mean, and really good dialogue and well written scripts, good casting. With Moon Knight, I feel like, what was your, Nate, just to remind me, what was your initial question?
My initial question, well, I'm not sure what you mean.
Just what was your initial premise when you first started this round of questions? Did you want?
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart. I guess I had two. I had two things that I wanted to bring up. They were kind of running out of time because I did actually create the link and all that kind of stuff for the next one. But I will bring up 2 points though. When the guy that when Steven met Mark's wife, I guess is that we should say, and he was talking in the accent, and she had a hard time believing. I guess if you were in her shoes, would you believe that situation as well?
Give me the end of that one more time, just because I'm not trying to disrespect you or whatever and whatnot, but my friend Susan from Rizzle just texted me and whatnot and everything and whatnot about doing some reaction videos and whatnot, and I had to text her back. So just give me the end of that question about Mark's wife.
When Steven met Mark's wife in that scene.
Yeah.
If you were in her shoes when Steven's telling the whole story and showing her the scallop, would you have believed Steven if you were in her shoes?
I don't know. I personally can answer that to the T, that question, just because I feel like I've got to watch the episode again. For one thing, a lot happened, and as I said the other night during the show, some of the stuff that happened at times during the episode, I did get confused a little bit as to what exactly was going on with certain situations. So what I will say is just that, off your question, that I feel like when it comes to Mark's wife or whatever, I guess it's kind of Stephen and Mark's wife because they are the same person.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like there's a lot more that meets the eye than what we saw in the episode. And what that means with her in terms of like how big of a role she's going to have in this series overall, I have no clue. But I think that like a lot of aspects of this Moon Knight series, everything is not as it looks, right from jump. And I think that there's going to be times throughout the series where it's going to be difficult to really like completely recognize who's the villain, who's the hero at all at times. Who's a friend, who's an ally, who's not, who's a villain.
I feel like they're pulling the page off of Superman and Lois's playbook where they changed the villain like several times within the series. I feel like they're going to do something like that. Jeff Bowman, what are your thoughts on it? I guess.
In the comics, Gunner, what was his wife's name?
Oh,
It wasn't Layla.
No, it wasn't Layla.
But she was involved with him when they killed the archaeologist, right?
Yes.
But he was there he was there in support of a friend, right?
Mm-hmm. I haven't read as much Moon Knight.
Yeah, it's been a while, but anyway, that guy is the one that went off the deep end and was going to assassinate or did assassinate everybody. And Mark Spector had an issue with that, and that's what led to him running to the pyramids and ended up with Khonshu. But his wife at that time's name was not Layla, but they said that they didn't use that name in this show. So I'm hoping that that's his real wife, just so that it would be, kind of canon with everything. Marlene, right?
Marlene's her wife, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that she'll be canon and she'll be real, but then at the same time, I'm thinking could be in his mind, that he's making that up. Like he's, like she's really not there, but it's in his mind. But I think she's really there. I mean, and I really think this next coming Egypt episode, we're going to find out, I think, but.
Yeah.
I hope we see Jake Lockley in the third episode.
Yeah, me too. But I don't know, I don't know what direction they're going to go in.
Now, talking about villains real quick, I'm going to give this question to Gunner. Do you think that this show really has two villains in it?
I mean, Emmett, are you saying Emmett and Harlow? I think yes, but I also think that they are the same. So yes and no. I think that I don't think there's going to be another villain that we haven't been introduced to yet, outside of maybe if we see Emmett or Emmett's avatar, which I'm assuming is Harlow. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be another. I don't think they're going to wrap this story and then tell another story with another villain.
I was thinking more along the lines of Ethan Hawke's character and the god of the two guys, the two personalities they're both connected to.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I think we'll see that. I think we'll see Emmett, and an avatar. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess if that's the way we're going, then yeah, absolutely. That's how it's going to go.
All right, we're getting close to running out of time here. I will be back literally in about 2 minutes to go ahead and do the live show for Flash doing the live reaction. But for Jeff Bowman and Jeff S. and Gunner, and myself, Nate the Great. See you in a little bit. Signing out. Right now, I know that was a weird ending.